Before we begin this incredible true story, please take a moment to subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon so you never miss another amazing story like this one. Now, let's dive into what happened on that unforgettable afternoon. The summer sun beat down on the cobblestone courtyard outside Buckingham Palace. Hundreds of tourists crowded behind the metal barriers, cameras ready, hoping to catch a glimpse of the famous changing of the guard ceremony. Among the sea of visitors stood Marcus Chen, a royal guard who had served Her Majesty for 7 years. His red uniform was pristine, his bearskin hat perfectly positioned, and his face remained expressionless as trained. Marcus had learned long ago to ignore the occasional rude comment or inappropriate photo attempt. It was part of the job, but nothing could have prepared him for what was about to happen. A woman in her mid-40s pushed her way through the crowd. Her designer sunglasses sat atop bleached blonde hair, and her voice carried across the courtyard as she complained loudly about the heat, the wait, and the lack of special seating. Her husband trailed behind, looking embarrassed, while their teenage daughter scrolled through her phone, oblivious to her mother's behavior. The woman, later identified as Patricia Whitmore from Beverly Hills, was not having the vacation she had imagined. She approached the barrier directly in front of Marcus, waving her phone in the air. She demanded he smile for her photo. Marcus, following protocol, remained perfectly still, eyes fixed straight ahead. Patricia's face reddened. She snapped her fingers inches from his face. Still, Marcus did not move. Other tourists began to notice the commotion. Some whispered. Others pulled out their phones, sensing something unusual was happening. Patricia's frustration grew with each passing second. What happened next shocked everyone present. Patricia ducked under the security barrier, ignoring the immediate shouts from security personnel. She marched right up to Marcus, standing so close that her perfume was overwhelming. She poked his chest with one manicured finger and said something that made nearby tourists gasp. When Marcus still refused to break his stance, Patricia did the unthinkable. She spat directly in his face. The glob of saliva struck his cheek and slowly dripped down toward his collar. The crowd fell completely silent. Marcus felt the warm spit slide down his face, but he did not flinch. His training had prepared him for many things, but this level of disrespect was unprecedented. Inside, his heart pounded with anger and humiliation. Outside, he remained a statue. His eyes stayed forward, his breathing steady, his hands still at his sides. This was the moment his years of discipline would be tested. Patricia stepped back, a satisfied smirk on her face, clearly expecting some reaction. When none came, she seemed even more irritated. The crowd, however, was not silent for long. Gasps turned to angry murmurs. Several tourists began shouting at Patricia, calling her disgusting and disrespectful. Her husband finally found his voice and tried to pull her back toward the barrier, his face burning with shame. Their daughter looked up from her phone, finally realizing something terrible had happened. She stared at her mother in horror, but Patricia seemed oblivious to the growing hostility around her. She actually laughed and turned to take a selfie with Marcus still standing there, spit on his face. That was when Officer Sarah Mitchell arrived. Sarah was part of the Metropolitan Police unit assigned to protect the palace grounds. She had been monitoring the cameras when she saw Patricia breach the barrier. Now, seeing what had happened to Marcus, her professional calm was tested. She approached Patricia with 2 other officers flanking her. Patricia barely glanced at them, still trying to get the perfect angle for her photo. Sarah's voice was firm and clear when she spoke, telling Patricia she was under arrest for assault on a public servant and trespassing on protected grounds. Patricia's smirk finally disappeared. She sputtered in disbelief, insisting she had done nothing wrong. She was just trying to get a reaction for her social media followers. The guard was just standing there anyway, so what was the big deal? Sarah did not argue. She simply handcuffed Patricia while reading her rights. The crowd erupted in applause. Tourists who had filmed the entire incident were already uploading videos online. Patricia's husband stood frozen, unsure whether to follow his wife or disappear into the crowd. Their daughter was crying now, embarrassed beyond words, as Patricia was led away. Still protesting loudly about her rights as an American citizen and demanding to speak to the ambassador. Another guard approached Marcus. Protocol required that Marcus be relieved of duty immediately and given the opportunity to clean up and file a report. But Marcus requested to finish his 2-hour shift first. His commanding officer, who had rushed to the scene, studied Marcus's face. The younger man's jaw was set, his eyes still forward. After a long moment, the officer nodded. Marcus would finish his duty. The crowd watched in amazement as Marcus remained at his post. Someone offered him a tissue through the barrier. Marcus did not take it. He could not break protocol even now. A little girl, maybe 6 years old, started crying. She told her father that the mean lady had hurt the nice soldier. Her father comforted her, explaining that the soldier was very brave and strong. The little girl insisted on staying until Marcus's shift ended. She wanted to make sure he was okay. Her family agreed to wait. Meanwhile, at the nearby police station, Patricia was learning that actions have consequences. The desk sergeant explained that assault on a royal guard was a serious offense in the United Kingdom. She could face up to 6 months in prison and a substantial fine. Patricia insisted it was all a misunderstanding. She demanded her lawyer. She demanded the American embassy. She demanded to be released immediately. The sergeant calmly informed her that she would be held until her court appearance the following morning. Patricia's perfect vacation was crumbling around her, back at the palace. News of the incident spread quickly among the guards and staff. Many wanted to see Marcus, to offer support. But Marcus remained at his post for the full 2 hours. Tourists continued to gather, many having heard about what happened on social media. They came specifically to show respect for the guard, who had maintained his dignity in the face of such disgraceful behavior. Some saluted. Others simply stood quietly, their presence a show of solidarity. When Marcus's shift finally ended and the next guard took his place, something extraordinary happened. The crowd that had gathered, now numbering in the hundreds, began to clap. The applause started slowly, but grew into a thunderous roar of support. Tourists from dozens of countries joined together in appreciation for Marcus's professionalism and self-control. Marcus, finally able to break his stance, executed a perfect salute to the crowd before turning and marching back toward the guardhouse. The applause followed him until he disappeared from view. Inside, his fellow guards greeted him with respect and concern. His commanding officer handed him a towel and a bottle of water. Marcus finally cleaned his face. The anger he had suppressed for 2 hours began to surface. But so did something else: pride. He had not given that woman the satisfaction of breaking his composure. He had honored his uniform, his unit, and his country. His commanding officer informed him that the incident had been captured by multiple security cameras and tourist phones. The footage was already viral, with millions of views online. The overwhelming public response was supportive of Marcus and outraged at Patricia's behavior. The next morning, Patricia appeared in Westminster Magistrates' Court. She had spent a miserable night in a cell. Her requests for special treatment ignored. Her lawyer, hired by her frantic husband, tried to negotiate. But the prosecutor was firm. The Crown was taking this case seriously. Assault on a royal guard, trespassing on protected grounds, and public disorder were significant charges. The magistrate listened to both sides before speaking. He noted that the defendant showed no remorse and had attempted to justify her actions by claiming she wanted to create content for social media. The magistrate's voice was stern when he delivered his judgment. Patricia was found guilty on all charges. She was sentenced to 4 months in prison, suspended for 2 years, meaning she would not serve time immediately, but would if she committed any other offense in that period. She was also fined £5,000, ordered to pay compensation to Marcus, and banned from entering any royal property for life. Additionally, her visa was revoked and she would be deported immediately after the proceedings. Patricia's face went pale. This was real. This was actually happening. Outside the courthouse, reporters had gathered in large numbers. The story had captured international attention. Marcus's dignity and Patricia's disgraceful behavior had become a talking point about respect, entitlement, and the consequences of treating others as props for social media content. Patricia's lawyer made a brief statement on her behalf, but the public was not sympathetic. Online, the reaction was overwhelmingly against her. Her social media accounts, which she had been so eager to feed, were flooded with criticism. Many called for her to be fully prosecuted without any suspended sentence. Marcus, meanwhile, was dealing with unexpected fame. The video of him standing perfectly still while being assaulted had been shared millions of times. News outlets worldwide had picked up the story. He was invited to appear on talk shows and news programs, but Marcus politely declined most interviews. He did not want to be celebrated for simply doing his job. However, his commanding officer convinced him to make one statement to the press. Standing in his full uniform, Marcus spoke briefly but powerfully about duty, respect, and the honor of serving. He explained that royal guards were not tourist attractions or props for photos. They were highly trained soldiers with real responsibilities. He asked visitors to treat them with the same respect they would want for themselves. His words were measured and dignified without any anger toward Patricia. He simply hoped that people would learn from this incident. The statement resonated with millions. Comments flooded in from current and former service members, thanking him for representing them so well. Even the royal family privately sent their commendation. Patricia, escorted to the airport by immigration officials, faced a very different homecoming than she had planned. Her story had reached American news as well. Friends and neighbors who saw the footage were appalled. Her social media accounts, which had once been her pride, were now deactivated. Her daughter refused to speak to her, ashamed of what her mother had done. Her husband was considering separation. The vacation that was supposed to create enviable content had instead created a permanent stain on her reputation. She boarded the plane in silence, escorted to her seat by officials who ensured she caused no further problems. In the weeks following the incident, Marcus returned to his regular duties. The crowds at Buckingham Palace remained large, perhaps even larger than before, but the atmosphere had changed. Tourists were noticeably more respectful. Parents used the opportunity to teach their children about treating others with dignity. The little girl who had waited for Marcus's shift to end that day even sent him a drawing of a brave soldier with a note thanking him for being a hero. Marcus kept it in his locker, a reminder that his actions had meant something beyond that single moment. The incident sparked broader conversations about tourism etiquette and the boundaries of social media content creation. Several tourist sites around the world reported implementing stricter rules about visitor behavior and consequences for those who harassed workers or performers. Patricia's case became a cautionary tale, used in discussions about entitlement and the importance of respecting people regardless of their job. What she had intended as a moment of viral entertainment had become exactly that, but not in the way she had hoped. For Marcus's life eventually returned to normal, or as normal as it could be after becoming an international symbol of dignity under pressure. He was promoted within his unit, though he insisted it had nothing to do with the incident, but rather his years of dedicated service. His fellow guards treated him with the same camaraderie as before, though there was perhaps an added note of respect in their interactions. He continued to stand at his post, rain or shine, maintaining the traditions that had defined the royal guard for centuries. The incident also had an unexpected positive outcome. Donations poured in to military charities in Marcus's name from people moved by his story. The funds helped support veterans and active service members facing difficulties. Marcus used his compensation money from the court case to contribute to these charities as well. He felt that if something good could come from that horrible moment, it should benefit those who served alongside him. The organizations thanked him publicly, further cementing his reputation as a man of character. Years later, when Marcus would occasionally be asked about that summer day, he would simply say that he did what any guard would have done. He maintained his post and his dignity because that was his duty. But those who had witnessed it, both in person and through the viral videos, knew it was more than that. It was a powerful lesson in self-control, professionalism, and the importance of treating every person with respect. Patricia's name faded from public memory, but the image of Marcus standing firm, refusing to be diminished by cruelty, remained. It became a reminder that true strength is not found in aggression or entitlement, but in grace under pressure and unwavering commitment to doing what is right, even when no one would blame you for breaking.